You ever stand in your kitchen holding a bottle of ibuprofen, doing the math on how many you've swallowed this year and realize the number is bigger than you want to admit? That was me 3 years ago, and it started with a 20-minute conversation with an old farmer in Pennsylvania Dutch country who asked me one question I didn't have a good answer for. What exactly did I think I was buying every time I refilled that bottle? Here's the thing about pain relief in this country. We've been trained to think it only comes in a labeled bottle with a child-proof cap. Everything else got quietly filed under old wives' tale 100 years ago, and most of us never questioned it. But some of the old remedies didn't disappear because they stopped working. They disappeared because nobody could patent a tree. That's not a conspiracy. It's just how markets work. A pharmaceutical company can spend $1 billion developing a molecule, patent it, and sell it at a massive markup for 20 years. Nobody can do that with a wild root growing behind a barn. No patent means no research funding, no marketing budget, no doctor getting a rep visit about it. So it just quietly stopped getting taught, stopped getting stocked, and stopped getting remembered, while the farm communities who never threw anything away kept using it the whole time. The plant at the center of this story is called prickly ash, Xanthoxylum americanum, sometimes called the toothache tree. It grows wild from Vermont down through Georgia and out to the Mississippi. Indigenous nations in that range, including the Lenape, used the bark and root for pain relief long before European settlers arrived, and Pennsylvania Dutch farm families adopted it by the early 1700s. By the late 1800s, it was as ordinary in a rural pantry as flour. Here's the part that isn't folklore. Chew a small piece of the dried root or inner bark, and within a minute or two, your mouth starts to tingle, then goes slightly numb. That's a real measurable effect from a class of compounds called alkylamides, the same family found in Sichuan peppercorns, which interact with sensory nerve endings and temporarily dull pain signaling. It's mild, it's short-lived, and it's not a substitute for treating whatever's actually causing the pain, but the numbing sensation itself is genuine chemistry, not imagination. Traditional preparation was simple. A small piece of dried root, about matchstick size, chewed slowly against the site of a toothache, or held on the side of the mouth for a headache, held between cheek and gum rather than swallowed. For deeper aches, farm families made a tea. Roughly a teaspoon of dried bark simmered in a cup of water for about 15 minutes, strained and drunk warm. Dried root runs somewhere in the $8 to $15 a pound range from herbal suppliers, and a pound lasts most households the better part of a year, which is genuinely a fraction of what a bottle of over-the-counter painkillers costs. Some families also kept a longer-acting extract, bark steeped for several weeks in vinegar or a neutral spirit, since the active compounds dissolve more fully in acid or alcohol than in water alone. I'm not going to hand you exact drop counts for that, and here's why. Prickly ash has a genuine mild blood-thinning, circulation-stimulating effect. If you're on a blood thinner, a blood pressure medication, or really any prescription, this is exactly the kind of thing to run past your doctor or a qualified herbalist before you start, not after. And any dosing should come from them, tailored to you, not from a video. That's not a legal disclaimer I'm tacking on. It's the actual honest limit of what a general audience script can responsibly tell you. There's a broader lesson buried in this plant story, though, and it's the one worth sitting with. A lot of old order farm communities in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio genuinely do turn to home remedies first and save the hospital trip for when it's actually needed. But that's not because home remedies replace real medicine. It's because they know the difference between a minor ache that a tea or a chewed root can take the edge off and a real injury or illness that needs a doctor. That distinction is the whole point, and it's the one that gets lost every time this kind of story gets sold as never needed a doctor in 200 years. So if you want to try this yourself, the honest version looks like this. Order dried prickly ash bark from a reputable herbal supplier. Use the simple tea or chewed root method for minor, everyday aches. Expect mild and temporary relief rather than a cure. And treat it as one small tool in the kitchen rather than a replacement for your doctor, your dentist, or anything that's actually serious. If you're on any medication, ask before you start. And if something is a real injury, a bad burn, a deep wound, chest pain, anything that doesn't feel like ordinary wear and tear, that's a hospital visit. Full stop. No root or tea changes that math. That's really the whole idea worth taking from this. Not that there's a secret the pharmacy doesn't want you to know, but that a 200-year-old plant genuinely still does something real in a small, specific, well-understood way. And that's worth knowing without needing to dress it up as more than it is. This has been Hidden Fix Lab. If you want the next piece of old, overlooked knowledge that still holds up, stick around.